Okay, college algebra 1.4, equations of lines and modeling. We are on page 103 of your textbook. First thing we're going to talk about is the slope-intercept equation of lines. And if you remember, your slope-intercept looks like this. Slope, intercept. M is slope, B is intercept. If there is no B, if it were f of x equals 3x, well, your y-intercept is 0, so you know your line's going to go through 0. There will always be a slope, so that's not an issue, unless, of course, the graph of the line, here's your graph, if your graph of the line is vertical, then there is no slope, because you get a y over x, and your x is going to be 0, so therefore it's undefined. But what we're going to look at first of all is to remember that when you have two lines that are parallel to each other, the slope is going to be the same. So if we had f of x equals 3x plus 2, and we had f of x equals 3x minus 6, if the slopes are the same, they're going to be parallel. So something to remember there. Jump to example 1 on page 104. So if you look at example 1 on page 104, you'll notice that it's real easy to just look at that equation, I'm trying to get rid of this, as in slope-intercept form. And your slope is negative 0.25 and your y-intercept is negative 3.8. So that's all old stuff that you've done. And when you jump to example 2, it says find the slope and the y-intercept. Well, all you need to do is take that 3x minus 6y minus 7 equals 0 and set it equal to y. So you've got 3x minus 6y minus 7 equals 0. And we'll just get everything to the other side. Negative 3x plus 7, divide by negative 6, divide that by negative 6, and that by negative 6. And we have y equals 1/2 x minus 7 over 6. Okay, so pretty simple to do that. Jump up, well, example 3, we've got a slope of negative 7/9 and a y-intercept of 0.16, which means our y-intercept is actually 16, so it's just going to be y equals negative 7/9 x plus our y-intercept of 16, and we're done. Okay, example 4, we've got a slope of 2/3, so we've got a slope of negative 2/3, and we have a y-intercept of negative 3.6. And we're interested in finding the equation of the line. Well, we've got one of the parts done, so we have y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals negative 2/3 x plus b. Alright, the rule when you're trying to find the equation of a line is you have to know the slope and you have to know the y-intercept. And we don't know the y-intercept, we just know these 2 points. So in order to find b, we're going to plug those 2 points in. 6 in for y, and negative 3 in for x, and we're going to solve for b. So 6 equals 6/3 plus b. So when we reduce 6/3 to 2, subtract it from both sides, you're going to find out that b is 4. And we'll be able to write it as y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. Okay, so there's my linear equation. When you're asked to graph these, they're not very difficult because you've got the y-intercept and you do have the slope, so that should make things pretty easy. So the final part on this 1.4a video will be the point slope equations of lines, which is on page 106. And it starts with telling us that m equals one of our y's minus the other one over one of our x's minus the other one. So the change in y over the change in x, a symbolized way of doing this would be this way, where the Greek letter delta, which is that triangle, would be the change in x and y. And if you want to set this up in what they call point-slope form, you just cross multiply like that. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And there is your point-slope equation, okay, which is in the middle of page 106. So if we know the slope of a line and the coordinates of one point on the line, we can find an equation of the line using either the point-slope equation, which we have here, or the slope-intercept form. Okay, so if, for example, we have a point 2, 3, and we also have a point 1, negative 4, and the instructions say find an equation of that line. Okay, well first we're going to determine the slope. And I know that my slope is 1y over the other y over 1x minus the other x. So that'll give me the slope. So remember, we're looking for the slope and we're looking for the y-intercept. So when we do this, we get negative 4 minus 3, which is negative 7. And we get 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, which gives us a slope of positive 7. Okay. So given the slope, we're going to take that and we're going to plug it in right there. And we're also going to take our 2 and we're going to plug that 2 in right here. And we're going to take this 1 and we're going to plug it in right there. So then we have y minus 1 equals 7 times the quantity x minus 2. Okay, and when you multiply everything across, you end up getting y equals 7x minus 11. And you're done with that one. Okay, so isn't really too terribly bad as far as finding that. You can also use the slope-intercept form to find that as well.